Hey, this is Danny from Scare Talk. Before we get into all the horror greatness, I gotta let you know about Anchor. Anchor is the host site that we use to record our podcast. Anchor will upload your podcast to Apple and Spotify and many other listening platforms. Anchor is completely free, and you can download the app or go to the website, anchor.fm, and you can record straight on there. There's also some cool editing tools that you can use. Did I mention that it's free? Yeah, so if you want to make a podcast, Anchor is the way to go. Go check it out. Now, for the spooky stuff.
Welcome to Scare Talk, a horror movie podcast for horror fans. This podcast will cover horror movie reviews, ratings, and rankings. Now for your hosts, Danny and Joel.
All right. It's Scare Talk. I am Danny, and I'm here with Turbulent Joel.
Hey guys, what's up?
And today, we are going to talk about the 1973 film, the classic, The Exorcist.
The Exorcist, yes.
Joel.
Yes.
Who is in this?
This one stars Linda Blair as Reagan, everyone knows, and she was in Exorcist 2, The Heretic, Hell Night, and Savage Streets. After Exorcist 2, she didn't really do.
She's not in the third one?
No, she's not.
Oh.
No,
I heard the third one's pretty good.
I did too. I have been wanting to watch that one.
Yeah.
I just haven't done that yet. So.
Okay.
Also Ellen Burstyn. She was in When a Man Loves a Woman.
Oh, good one.
Requiem for a Dream.
Oh.
And Nicolas Cage's best, The Wicker Man.
Ah, yes. Okay.
And also Max von Sydow. He is Father Merrin.
Okay.
In this, though, the older.
Yeah. The Exorcist.
The Exorcist. He actually passed away this year. So in March, I looked that one up.
He just passed away?
Yeah, this year.
How old was he?
He's 90.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to say like 110 or something.
Yeah.
'Cause he was pretty old in that movie.
He was. And that was like 50 years ago.
Almost 50 years.
Yeah. 47. And he played Jesus in The Greatest Story Ever Told.
How ironic.
Back in like 1965.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Well, he went from Jesus to
an exorcist. Yeah. Not a huge stretch, but,
Yeah, he was a priest.
Yeah. He was also in Judge Dredd.
Great
and
movies.
Shutter Island.
Oh.
Yeah.
Who was he in Shutter Island?
One of the doctors.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yes. And it was written by William Peter Blatty. He did the novel and screenplay for it.
Oh, okay.
Which is pretty cool when the novelist will also be the writer of the movie itself.
Yeah.
He did the novel and the screenplay for Exorcist 3, Legion, which is probably why it's a good
there's a
sequel.
novel for that?
Yeah, apparently so. I didn't know that either. So, but yeah. So that's probably why people think it's good. The Great Bank Robbery.
Okay.
And A Shot in the Dark. Both of those are in the 60s. So.
All right.
And
Is he still alive?
I think so. I didn't look him up, but it was directed by William Friedkin, and he directed 12 Angry Men, the 97, the remake of not the original.
Okay.
Rules of Engagement, and The Hunted. So,
all right,
he's got some pretty good movies on his.
So it's written by one person and directed by one person.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. I feel like that's
rare these days.
Yeah, but it's like a good recipe for a good movie.
Yeah, it is.
You don't have
these other people fighting for like the script or
too many cooks.
Yeah, too many cooks in the kitchen.
All right, so the synopsis on this is when a 12-year-old girl is possessed by a mysterious entity, her mother seeks the help of two priests to save her.
Two.
Yes. Yeah. One of them is only in the movie for like, what, 20 minutes or something like that?
That's Max von Sydow. Yeah. I wanted to put the other guy on there, but he didn't have as many like film credits as, as he did. So and this guy's a legendary like filmmaker, or not filmmaker but actor. So kind of wanted to have him in there.
Right. So let's talk about, well, first I want to kind of talk about the intrigue or rumors or history of The Exorcist, the movie. Yeah. So there was a lot of, I don't know if they're urban legends or truths.
I think some of them are actually truths. Yeah. I don't know about all of them, but some of them definitely happened.
Yeah.
So
I'm pretty sure this is true. When it first came out, people were like, it was a big deal. People were lined up outside. Yeah. Like it was huge. And, but people were like throwing up in the theater and, you know, having to leave, and some people were having like convulsions, and
it seems a little, I can understand people leaving, but throwing up in the theater, I mean, I guess it's possible.
Yeah.
I mean, a movie like this had never been made before, so you don't have, and back then there were more, I think that there were more religious people back in the 70s than there are today.
Yeah.
So especially when you have like a movie like this that kind of tugs at that, I don't want to say heartstring because it's not really, but it adds something more when the majority of people believe in this sort of thing than they do now.
Yeah.
I'm on a couple of like Facebook horror group pages, and I actually got into something couple days ago with someone,
like an argument.
Well, not really.
Joel, you're always looking for arguments.
I am. No, this guy was saying that he watched it for the first time, and he's like, I don't understand like what the big deal about this movie was. He said it's good, but it's not scary. I was like, well, okay, you're watching it nearly 50 years later, and you know, to some people that may be like the special effects or practical effects really may not have been up to par to today's standards than they were back then, but it's like
they're way better.
That's the 70s. That was a decade that I don't know what happened between the 70s and the 80s for horror, but the quality for 70s horror movies were so much better than like the 80s. I don't know what happened there. Come on, 80s. True. Let's get.
There are just so many in the 80s.
There were.
Not even as many in the 70s, but the ones that did come out were great. Yeah,
they were. So he was just like, he said it was good, but he's like, it's not scary or anything like that. And I was like, well, you're watching it nearly 50 years later. Like you gotta take, and you know, it also comes into account if you believe in this kind of thing at all. Like at all. If you don't believe at all, it's not going to scare you. Like it's just another movie. But the thing with the audiences that watched this when it first came out is probably the majority of them did believe in this kind of thing. So it's going to scare you a little bit more because you're actually believe in exorcisms and possessions and everything. So it really depends on who you are if you're going to get scared by this movie or not. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's a real thing. You know, it's not like this movie made up exorcisms or the idea of possession or things like that. Like, these are things that are documented in history that, you know, now people would say, or science or, you know, even the Catholic Church would say is due to mental illness or some underlying condition rather than a, you know, possessed by a demon. So, you know, back when these
for everything.
back when these things were happening more often, you know, they didn't have that to fall back on, or that research or diagnosis. So, they just kind of went to take the demon out of you instead. So,
and there was a scene in this movie that I found pretty funny too. I think I'm going to get into in a little bit, but it's it kind of relates to this. To this topic.
So there's it's like a docu series, I guess you could say, on cursed films. It's on Shudder.
Yeah.
The first
I haven't
episode.
watched it yet, but yeah. I know
Yeah, the first episode is The Exorcist.
Mm-hmm.
And it's pretty interesting. All that kind of came from that movie, and the rumors and gossip and urban legends about it, and how it's like cursed or haunted or whatever.
Yeah.
Pretty interesting stuff to hear from the actual actors, the people who actually were alive when this movie came out, who were involved in the movie, and so interesting stuff. Check it out.
Yes. Shudder. Not sponsored, but whatever.
All right, so positives. What do you like?
So another difference between 70s and 80s movies were acting.
Yeah.
They still could act back in the 70s.
Yeah.
I think the studios just stopped paying as much money to actors in the 80s to do their movies, and it was all about like gore and everything like that, which is fine. It's horror, but with the 70s, you actually had quality. Yeah. There was quality acting in this. I mean, there's a couple of like really big name actors in this movie alone,
right?
And you had like just the quality of the movie itself was something that was lost later in years. But yeah, I think the acting and the quality of the movie, how creepy the atmosphere was, in this movie, I really liked that. It was good. I would say, usually in these horror movies, I would say the killings, the death scenes or whatever, there weren't really that many.
Yeah.
There was maybe one person.
Yeah. And we didn't even, there's one at the end.
Yeah.
And then one that is off screen.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah. So to make a quality horror movie that scared people as much as apparently it did back then without like actually having people die in the movie is really impressive. Really.
Yeah. No, it really is. Yeah.
So,
I hadn't even thought of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like you said, not much gore.
Yeah.
There's blood and stuff, and some
couple scenes,
effects
like,
that
have
some just gross factor, but no gore really.
Yeah. Yeah. There were some of those scenes, even to today's standards, is like that's a little it's a little much.
Yeah.
So the scene that I was talking about, which I find funny, and I don't know if it would be a positive. It's not a negative or anything like that. It's just something that I wanted to talk about.
Okay.
Was when, before they got the exorcists involved in this, they went to the doctors.
Yeah.
And the doctors suggested an exorcist.
Yeah, they're like, we're out of ideas.
Like, have you heard of exorcisms? Okay. Is that your medical diagnosis?
Yeah. Off the record. Yeah. Well, what I found funny was all the doctors smoked.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
Yeah.
Everybody smoked in this movie.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like,
he
just lit up a cigarette right in front of her in the hospital.
What's lung cancer? I don't know what this thing is.
That is so crazy to see.
I know. Oh, man. So yeah, that was an interesting, like, funny, like, moment.
Yeah.
That they probably didn't think was going to be funny when that movie came out.
Yeah. I mean, I wonder if it was not that it was common, but I wonder if it wasn't seen as, like, so ridiculous back then, Yeah. For a doctor maybe to say that after all these attempts, and finding nothing. And she had, like, a whole team.
Yeah.
She had, like, a whole room full of doctors.
Be like, I'm just going to get a second opinion. Like, maybe...
Yeah, I'm going to get a 20th opinion.
Yeah. Because, I mean, I think it is kind of ridiculous because even her expression, like, like, her face was like, really? Like, that's your suggestion? Get an exorcism?
Right from the beginning, though. I'd have been like, okay, this is not medical.
No, it's not.
There's no, lesion or, the stuff she was doing was not medical.
Yeah, it's not normal for
any sort of diagnosis.
No, yeah. And did you watch the unrated cut of it, or did you watch the theatrical version?
Don't know. I want to say the theatrical version.
Okay, I watched the theatrical too.
Okay. I didn't know there was an unrated.
Yeah, there's like an unrated, never seen in theaters type of thing, where it's actually one of the scenes, I think it's like 10 minutes longer than the actual movie itself, which is pretty impressive for those unrated, because it's usually like 1 or 2 minute long.
Yeah.
But one of them is that spider walk down the stairway. That's not in the original cut.
Yeah.
That's in the unrated cut.
Oh, I'm going to have to see that. Yeah, because she doesn't even get out of her room.
Yeah.
Once she's in there.
Yeah.
She doesn't even get out. Huh. I wonder how
she does at that dinner party one time.
Yeah, yeah.
But, which is it was a pretty creepy scene too. But yeah, no, she does the spider walk down the staircase.
I wonder how that, like, what the
special
setup is. Well, no, like the setup, like, how does she get back into her room? How does she get out?
Oh, yeah.
Like, all of that. Like, how does that even work?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've seen that scene before, but I've never seen, like, that cut of the movie.
Okay.
Kind of want to check that out sometime.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I was curious to see if you've seen it, if it was any differences. I should have just watched it instead of the theatrical. But yeah, so I thoroughly enjoyed this movie.
Yeah.
A lot. And it is a classic.
Yeah.
Even if you have seen it for the first time, like recently, like in the last maybe even 10 years, it's still, it's not scary in the sense that you're gonna jump a lot. Right. It's not a jump scare type movie. Yeah. It's an unsettling, disturbing horror movie.
Yeah.
So yeah. That's
okay. So positives for me. Let's see. So just the creepiness. The effects were really good. Her transformation was gradual.
Yeah.
You know? It wasn't just like you see her and she's like, bam, and then all of a sudden she's possessed or whatever. It was gradual, which I thought was cool. Because it does make you think, oh, she's sick. Yeah. You know? So I understand where that thought process came from and why she was going to the doctor and all this, and then it just gets progressively worse. The mom, I thought, acted really good.
Yeah.
I felt like so scared for her.
Yeah.
When her daughter is doing all these things and talking to her in this way with this crazy voice, and she's just frightened, and it was very convincing. Very convincing.
Yeah.
Linda Blair, she did awesome.
Yeah, she did.
I can't think of another child actor that has done better.
It really sucks that this movie kind of like ruined her career too.
Yeah, it did.
If not this one, you know, she did the sequel, so the movies as like as a pair, I guess.
Yeah.
Kind of ruined her career in the future, and she definitely had a big career after this movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if this had been made today for the first time, she would still be acting. Like, it's not... Unfortunately, and fortunately, I guess, we have kind of been desensitized to this kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, to the point that, like, it's scary. Like, it's horror still, but it's not gonna, like... It may keep you up at night. I don't know, depending on
the first time I saw it
on the subject matter, especially.
So the first time I saw it, I was 16. I remember this day. There's weird things I have memories of, but this one hit me. So I remember I was 16, and my cousin, she's like the oldest cousin, I'm the oldest, but she's closest to me. She's like a year and a half younger, no, she's only a few months younger. Yeah, a few months younger. And so she came over, and my dad had always talked about The Exorcist as being the scariest movie, you know, and I had never seen it when I was 16. So it's Halloween, and we're gonna watch it. And it got me, man. It got me. And like watching it now, I can remember certain parts because whenever the priest comes to the home, I remember thinking, "Oh gosh, here we go, here we go." He's going back in the room. We get to see Reagan again.
Round 2.
Yeah. And when I first saw it, it felt like it happened so many times. Like it felt like he went into that room like 15 times. But he only gets in there a few times.
Yeah.
He's only in there
a handful of times.
Yeah. But to me, it felt like so many times. Because I was just dreading every time. And if a movie can do that, like give you that sense of just suspense for something so simple as someone walking upstairs.
Yeah.
You know, that's all he's doing. Mm-hmm. But you know what's coming.
Yeah.
And it's like, there's no music. It's just... That's another thing about this movie. There wasn't a ton of music.
No, there wasn't. But the theme...
The theme was cool.
Was great.
Yeah. The theme is really cool. But as far as the score of as a whole...
Yeah.
Not much.
There's not a whole lot of music involved in this movie at all.
And that's kind of what made it seem real, too.
Yeah.
Was it wasn't theatrical.
Mm-hmm.
The scariest scenes, there's not much music at all, if any.
Yeah.
And so it just looks so real to me. When the bed was shaking, when she's starting to kind of progressively transition, the bed's shaking, it's like, how do you do that? Like, that looks so real. It was not obvious that it was produced.
Yeah.
You know? Her, like, going up and down, up and down. Mm-hmm. I'm like, oh my gosh, how are you doing that?
Yeah.
Because it's like, it's there. It's like on screen.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing about this movie is everything is off the camera. There's nothing after the fact that they add to the movie. Mm-hmm. It's all what you see is what they filmed.
Yeah.
So it's...
There's no CGI involved in this.
Yeah.
That's another thing. They're actually talking about doing a reboot of this movie.
I know.
Which is going to be CGI filled.
Yeah.
I hope
not.
I really hope that they can, for at least this movie, they can go back to the roots and just like practical effects.
Yeah.
They're more expensive, and it takes longer.
Yeah, it takes a lot more effort.
But with the amount of people that complain about CGI in their movies, especially in the horror movies, you gotta do it.
Yeah,
you gotta just maybe cut the budget somewhere else and fit it into practical effects. Take a little bit longer with your movie.
Yeah. I'm all for zero practical effect or CGI in horror movies.
Yeah.
You want to put that in action movies or whatever, sci-fi, cool.
You got your Marvel for that.
Yeah, go ahead and do that because, I mean, it's just, I don't care.
Yeah.
But for horror, you should be able to do it without that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They used to, so why not now?
Yeah, exactly.
You're just being lazy, Hollywood.
So yeah, I mean, Linda Blair, back to my positives, she's amazing. Mm-hmm. The way that they altered her voice, like the way she sounded was just... Nowadays, when they alter voices for, other exorcism type movies and, demon possession movies or whatever, it's obvious. You know, it's obvious that there's like a... And it's booming. You know, it's like... so over the whole movie. It's just, it really stands out. Her voice seemed like she was just talking. Her voice,
deeper voice.
Her voice was not like louder or more surround sound or whatever than any other character. Mm-hmm. And that again made it feel real, Yeah. And so, and I like the end. With what the priest does and how he kind of ends the curse, I guess.
Yeah.
And that, I didn't remember. I remembered how the movie ended, but I didn't remember the connection to the other guy who had died in a similar way.
Yeah.
Which I thought was kind of cool, a little foreshadow to the ending. I thought that was cool. So... yeah, I mean, that's it. I think the acting and just the practical effects made the movie.
Yeah, it really did.
Yeah. All right. So anything you didn't like?
So there was, and this is like a small thing. I'm kind of nitpicking at this movie at this point for negative things to say about it. There's a couple of scenes where Reagan, as possessed Reagan, is spinning her head around, and then at the end of the movie she goes back to normal. Like, I know it's a movie.
I see what you're saying. She would have some neck pain.
She would be dead.
By the way,
I get it. It's a movie.
That's funny. I didn't think of that. That's really funny.
I mean, as real as they're trying to be in this movie,
yeah.
that's like the most unreal thing that they did. It's like, you know, she twisted her head around twice. Completely around twice.
Yeah.
Yet every bone in that neck would be broken at this point.
That, too, still holds up.
Oh, yeah.
That still holds up. It's a classic.
It is a classic scene. I love that scene.
Yeah. And it's still like...
And I don't want Reagan to have died. That's not what I'm saying. But, you know, it's... You're trying to be as real as possible.
That's funny. What I like about that is she, like, turns her head around, like, slowly, right? Mm-hmm. But then, like, the last 90
whips
degrees...
around.
Like, I was like, oh, man, didn't expect you to, like,
because then
jump
one of the
that.
priests say Damien.
Yeah.
I think, and that's when she, like, spun her head around quick. Because I'm assuming that's the demon that's inside of her.
Yeah.
Got a little Omen type
right.
connections there, which I don't know if that came out after Exorcist.
I don't know. Probably.
Yeah.
73? I don't think it came out before that.
Yeah. That's really my main negative that I have about this movie. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was, you know, and I even love those scenes in the movie. It's just not, you know, realistic.
That's so funny. Okay, so the only real negative I have, and again, we're nitpicking a little bit, is there are certain scenes where it gets really intense, and it's like, whoa, and then we just cut to something else. And, like, the priest or the mom or the doctor or whatever, they're just doing something else. Mm-hmm. And it's like, what happened? How did that get resolved?
Yeah.
It's like I would like some resolution to some of those scenes. Mm-hmm. Even if it's just they run out of the room.
Yeah.
You know, it's something. Because it's like, she's going crazy. And then next scene, they're doing dishes or something. Like, what happened?
Yeah.
So, you know, it kind of just made me think. You know, while back when I saw it when I was 16, I was probably grateful for cutting away from that. Yeah. You know, because I didn't want those scenes to last any longer.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, okay, you know what happened there? I want to know the results of that scene. But
yeah.
But you know, it didn't really take away from the movie. I just you know, it would have been a much longer movie. But
maybe that's the unrated cut. That's the extra 10 minutes. Because, I mean, that spider walk scene's not going to be a whole 10-minute long sequence.
Yeah. Maybe that is. Yeah, true.
We gotta watch that cut.
So, yeah, I mean, but that's about it for me, for negatives.
Yeah. It's just a very, like, well done, well made, well acted, well scripted. Really.
The script was
everything
good.
About this movie was just great.
Yeah.
And that's like in today's standards, that's great. Yeah. It still holds up. Yeah. A movie that's nearly 50 years old holds up today. So.
Yeah, amazing.
Good job.
Something else I did like was the screams. Felt so genuine. When Reagan is just, you know, contorting and she's like flipping back and forth. She's like, "Oh, Mom, help me, Mother."
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my gosh, she is getting me. Like, I feel for her. And then her mom too, her screams, it's just so genuine. And you know, in most horror movies it's just this high-pitched shrill. You know, it's not, I mean, while some actresses or actors can do it better than others, I feel like these are the most genuine, frightening screams that I've heard.
Yeah, so, for sure.
That goes with the acting.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it all goes back to the acting and just everything about this movie. Yeah, that just made it work completely. Yeah. So
I heard it was in the that documentary. The director, what was it? I want to say it was that scene when she's flipping up and down. That he was like, it was like this pulley that they were pulling.
Oh, really?
To get her to go up and down like that. Okay. And it was like he was going for
it. You could, like, injure that girl. Man, dislocations everywhere.
So
that's crazy.
That, so that gets some real emotion. Man. And when one of them gets, like, slapped or knocked over or something, it's, like, legit.
It's, like, real.
Yeah. So you get that real raw feeling from it. And, that just her up and down, up and down. I'm like, oh my gosh, that would hurt so much.
Yeah.
So
today that would be CGI'd.
Yes, definitely. Okay. Grading time.
Yeah. Because the only negative that I had was her head spinning around, which is also positive.
Yeah.
It's just the after effects of that was a negative for me. I'm going to give this like a 94.
94?
Yeah.
Okay. Very good.
Very good movie.
Yeah, that's a high score.
Yeah.
I'm going 95.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't just trying to one-up you. I remember now, Halloween, I gave it like a 98.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
You gave it a 95.
I did give it a 95.
Yeah. I gave it a little more, but I didn't give it 100. So, but this one is close. Terrifying. I said it was the scariest movie of all time, and I might have to stick with that for myself, at least. Scariest movie I've seen.
Yeah.
There are other ones that are scary, but don't hold up in multiple viewings.
Yeah.
Aren't scary. They're scary like when you first see it, but then second, third,
the novelty
fourth
wears off after a while.
Yeah, and it's not as scary.
Yeah.
This one, even though I knew everything that was coming, it still was scary.
How many times have you watched it this last time?
This would be 3 or 4.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I've put it on a few other times. Another negative. It's a little slow.
It does have its moments.
The beginning 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah, before we even see
before
the family.
Before we see the family, or
because they have to do their backstory for it a little bit.
Yeah,
in like what, Afghanistan?
It was Iraq.
Iraq.
Yeah. So it was a little slow to get into. So when I've put it on other times, I've been kind of getting tired, so I turned it off.
Because you just got too scared.
Well, there's that too. At least one time, I was watching it with my wife, and she fell asleep, and I was still awake, and I'm watching, and I'm like, I don't want to just watch this movie right now. It was more to watch it with her because she hadn't seen it. And I'm like, I don't want to put myself through this right now.
She fell asleep during her first viewing of the movie?
Yeah. Because it was like the first part that was kind of slow.
Oh, okay.
So she fell asleep pretty
early. Wow,
pretty early.
Still have like over an hour and a half left of the movie.
Yeah. So, and I remember this time watching it, you're like halfway through the movie, I think, when things start to really pick up.
Yeah.
And I remember, like, for some reason I had to pause it, or I was doing something, and I saw that I was like halfway through, and I'm like, okay, so it's, well, I'm going to have to go one more. We're going to have to go 40 more minutes with Reagan.
Yeah.
She's scary, man.
Yeah, no, that, again, goes back to the acting, and it really is unfortunate that this ruined her entire career.
Yeah. She was cursed.
Yeah.
After this one.
She was. Her acting career was cursed.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's our review on The Exorcist from 1973. We both gave it pretty good, solid A's.
Yeah.
And, so we're going to start doing more of these classic movies for the next few reviews. Psycho, Rosemary's Baby. Poltergeist. At least those.
Yeah.
And we want to get into the Nightmare on Elm Street.
The series, yeah. That's our next series.
Yeah. Hopefully we can get that in and done by, like, January? February? The whole series, because hopefully new movies will be coming out, and we'll be able to see some new ones and do some reviews. So.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's it. This has been Scare Talk.
Sleep tight.
Don't let Reagan Bite.